Are you holding your career back because of self-doubt? Or do you find that the things happening in your economy really affect your confidence levels about your career? In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how to achieve vocational confidence by implementing 9 powerful principles. To make it easier for you, I'm going to make them start with the letters of the alphabet. So let's go. Letter A is to acknowledge strengths for effectiveness. One of the most important things to achieve effectiveness, especially when there is a likely recession, is to focus on your strength, to maximize your strengths, and to invest in yourself to make your strengths even stronger. And this is important because you're focusing on your strengths for productivity, and strengths can be your productivity. Weaknesses cannot, because you cannot build on weakness. So then avoid the trap of weakness, because a lot of people give advice and say, well, work on your weaknesses. There's a lot of teaching out there that encourages people, work on your weakness. You got to turn your weaknesses into strengths. And the thing is, you cannot build on weaknesses. Weaknesses are weaknesses. Sometimes it's not your given gift. And in a recession, especially when recessions are likely, especially when layoffs are happening, or especially when things are changing, focusing on strengths is the fastest path to productivity. So this is where it's really important to make it your moral obligation to build upon strengths, your own strengths, and the strengths of those that are under your care. Because when you build upon your strengths, you lead by example, and then you help others that are under your care to build upon their strengths. Then you become effective as a whole in an organization, among a team, and you become effective as a whole within your own individual lives. So A is to acknowledge strengths for effectiveness. Letter B is to borrow beliefs. And this is really important because when times are tough, and when times seem like they will become tougher in the months and the weeks to come, sometimes our beliefs can be shaken, and we lack confidence, and self-doubt creeps in. Imposter syndrome starts to creep in, and anxiety-driven fear definitely starts to take over. So this is where borrowing beliefs comes in handy, because for those areas where you have the self-doubt, where you lack the confidence, borrow the beliefs from your mentors and your coaches who guide you, because they have gone through challenges and they've helped other people get through challenges. And then therefore they can help and support you and guide you through the lack of belief and the lack of confidence that you have. And you borrow their belief long enough until you can sustain your own beliefs. And I say this very strongly, until you can sustain your own beliefs, because beliefs are sustained. Sometimes you believe something for a day and the next day you no longer believe it. Sometimes you've believed the same thing for your whole life and it's never been shaken. Whether or not it's good for you or bad for you, that's what you believe. So beliefs need to be sustained. But it's important that you understand the source of that sustenance, because sometimes what's sustaining your belief is harming you. What's sustaining your belief is not serving you or does not have your best interest in mind. And that's where borrowing belief from someone who has the wisdom to guide you towards your promised land, borrowing your beliefs until you can sustain a better belief that can serve you from a source of sustenance that has your best interest in mind. Letter C is confidence through principles. You see, life gets so much easier when you understand how things work. When you don't understand how things work, things appear very random and convoluted, and we don't know what works, and so we try things, and when they don't work, it's easy to get frustrated. But when you understand how things work, you will know how to troubleshoot it. You will know what efforts and what strategies are going to produce for you the outcomes you do desire. And you will also know how long enough you need to apply those strategies in order to see an outcome, because you understand how things work. For example, let's take the law of entropy. The law of entropy is a principle that explains how things work. The law of entropy says that things in the world and in the universe tend to go towards disorder, which means that if you desire to create an inspirational outcome, that requires energy. For example, you want to organize a room so it's neat and tidy and things are in a place that makes sense. It requires an input of energy. But if you desire a room to be messy, to be objects all over the place in random order, all you need to do is neglect it. all you need to do is stop putting energy into it. And the law of entropy takes over and things tend to disorder. The same thing is true of your garden. The same thing is true of your emails. The same thing is true of your relationships. The same thing is true of your career goals. So if you understand that law of entropy and you know how things work, can you see how that guides your decisions in terms of where you invest your time, your efforts, in terms of what actions and inactions that you will undertake, and also in terms of the mindset and how you think about circumstances? So confidence through principles is an important understanding of achieving vocational confidence, because when you seek out the right principles to apply and the right principles to master, to achieve mastery in, then you can have the confidence to know what works. Letter D, develop proficiency for productivity. So the first thing is to discover your proficiencies, and some people don't know what their proficiencies are. Some people don't know what they are because they're waiting and depending on someone else to tell them what they're proficient at. And this is very common in the workplace when we're so used to waiting for that performance review, when we're so used to going to our managers or higher ups and asking them, how am I doing? And we're waiting and depending on them to tell us our proficiencies. Don't leave that in someone else's hands. Develop and hone your self-awareness to know and identify where your proficiencies are at and what you are naturally good at, because there is money, there is abundance, and there is clarity in understanding your proficiencies. So be able to discover your proficiencies and then develop your proficiencies with passion, which means that once you've now discovered what you're good at, put energy into it. Put intention into it, into developing them with serious and persistent commitment. Persist at developing them. Invest in developing them. Develop your proficiencies in such a way that you have mastered them. And when you've mastered them, that means that when you do what you do, you make it look flawless to other people. So develop your proficiencies passionately, and then deploy your proficiencies for a profit. Now, this one's really important because I'm talking about, this message is all about how to achieve vocational confidence, especially when a recession is likely. So when there's tough times and tough economic times, this is where it's important to understand, how might I create a profit? How might I create financial stewardship and financial abundancy for myself, the causes I care about, and the people that are under my care? And this is where you are developing proficiencies for a profit. This is where now you understand what you're good at. You're intentionally and seriously and persistently honing them to get really good at them and masterful at them. And now you're identifying, how might you turn a profit for that? How might I create an offer based on my proficiencies to turn that into value for someone? And they'll find value in it if it helps them to solve that's something very important and a top priority for them. So this is letter D, develop your proficiencies for productivity. Letter E is excellence in character and behavior. So what do I mean by that? Specifically, what I'm referring to is integrity. Did you know that confidence is rooted in integrity? In fact, the more integrous you are, the greater your confidence. Why? Because if you look at the word confidence, the root word of confidence is to confide. And if you have self-confidence, that means you can trust yourself, you can confide in yourself. And this is important to understand because most people, they keep telling themselves they're going to do something. They keep declaring to other people that they're going to achieve something. And they keep telling it, they keep writing it, and telling themselves, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this now. And they keep postponing it. In other words, they keep lying to themselves that subconsciously and on a soul level, their words don't mean anything anymore. So how is it possible to have self-confidence if you keep lying to yourself? Confidence is rooted in integrity. So first one is keep your word to yourself. Whatever you promise for yourself to yourself, keep that word. Excellence in character and behavior. And the second step to that is, once you can keep your own word to yourself, keep your word to others. If you make promises to others, if you tell others that you will do for them what you intend to do for them, then complete that to the best of your ability. Letter F, Focus creates belief and feeling. Did you know that what you focus on creates a belief in you, and that belief leads to the activities that you will choose to do? So let's look at it this way. Every situation has two sides. It has a positive side and it has a negative side. And which side you choose to focus more on will create the belief you have about that situation. And so if you see more positives in that situation than negatives, if the balance scale tips over to more positive than negatives, and therefore the belief you have about that situation is going to be more positive, and then therefore the feeling that it creates is a feeling of anticipation. If the focus that you have on your situation is one where the balance tips towards more negative than positive, then what you focus on creates a different belief about that situation. And the belief you have about that situation is going to be one of doubt, where the doubt is now you believe that things are not going to turn out. You believe that things are going to fail. You believe that things are going to be pear-shaped. That creates that belief. That focus creates that subsequent belief. And if you have that belief about the situation, it produces a feeling of doubt. It produces a feeling of anxiety because that is the focus that it has created. So a focus of more positives creates then a feeling of anticipation, and anticipation leads to a positive action that I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make decisive action. A focus that leads to a feeling of anxiety leads to paralysis, because if I see more negatives than positives, depending on what I focus on, and I'm anxious about my situation as a result of that, then likely I'm not going to be willing to take risks. I'm not going to be willing to take decisive action because that would be too difficult to do. So it creates paralysis. So focus creates belief, and belief goes on to create feelings. The good news about that is that you get to choose your focus. Up until now, perhaps it doesn't feel that way, that the focus just happens, and it does. But the moment the focus happens, you can refocus, and that's where your choice, the power of your choice is on the refocus. Now watch what happens when you refocus which side of the situation you choose to focus on. Watch how it shapes your beliefs, changes your beliefs, and watch how it changes your feelings. And once your feelings change, so will your actions. Because the only reason why you do things is because you feel like it. So how do you make yourself feel like doing the things that are hard? How do you make yourself inspire yourself rather, to feel like doing things that are hard, that are contradictory, that feel a little counterintuitive, or that don't feel comfortable? How do you inspire yourself to feel something different? It starts with your focus. Letter G, gaining speed helps you win the race that is set before you. And speed is your friend. Think about it. Changes in the world are already happening faster and faster and faster. There are all the positive changes that are happening. There are all the negative changes that are happening simultaneously. And the positive changes and the negative changes are on opposite sides of the same coin, right? Take AI and technology like it. That is changing so rapidly. And there are positives and negatives of each form of technology. Same coin, different sides, opposite sides. So if changes are happening rapidly, not just in the environment around you, but changes are also happening rapidly in your microenvironment, in your teams, your department, in your company, then wouldn't it stand to reason that you need to adapt to them just as quickly, if not quicker? So gaining speed is how you win the race that is set before you. And the best way to gain speed is to be able to become the person fast enough that when you become that person fast enough, you're able to navigate it effectively. So how do you become that person fast enough? You got to be able to equip yourself fast enough. And the best way to equip yourself fast enough is to learn from individuals who can help you to figure things out instead of you needing to figure it out with trial and error. That's the best way to buy speed. People are faster than reading books. People are faster than watching video after video after video, taking notes and needing to think through those notes. Videos are not as fast as learning from individuals who are there to give you feedback, who are there to course correct, who are there to anticipate on your behalf the things that you will encounter so that you can be protected from encountering those things. So Buy the speed you need to win the race that is set before you. Letter H, harness the power of intention. Have you ever noticed that in life requires an input of energy? Anything you want to achieve, big, small, and everything in between, requires an input of energy. It requires an input of energy from you, and sometimes it requires an input of energy of the team that is supporting you. And the team that's supporting you could be your family and friends, your mentors, your sponsors, your coaches, your managers, the people that are supporting you. And this is an aspect of life in any area of your life, in health, in wealth, and in relationships, requires intention, deliberate action to make progress. It's exactly like cultivating a garden. In a garden, have you noticed that you have to take deliberate action in order for the garden to look beautiful? All the flowers to be growing in the right place, the leaves to start blossoming, the soil to remain fertile to support all those different plantations and flowers. And didn't you notice that if you neglect it, the weeds just start to grow? You don't even need to plant weeds, they just grow. So what does that tell you? What can you learn from nature? These are the laws of nature. What can you learn? You learn an important lesson. You learn that progress requires deliberate intention and action, while neglect creates decline. So that's why letter H is harness deliberate intention. And the last letter, letter I, is irritation creates indignation. You know how sometimes you can see all the world around us, people, politicians making choices that we don't agree in, and corporations, institutions, people in society, all of these things are happening, and it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your families. It seems to be making decisions that put your family in peril. And it's easy to get all worked up about that. In fact, even really frustrated with it. And angry even, if not angry at certain individuals or not angry at your companies, but sometimes even angry at the world. But you know that frustration, that irritation that we get on the inside, if we allow that to blossom, it's exactly like the law of entropy. If we allow that to blossom, all we need to do is neglect that, and it will continue to grow just like how weeds grow naturally without our input. So if you allow that irritation and that anger to grow, what happens is that it's going to rob you of the focus, it's going to rob you of your energy, it's going to rob you of your motivation, it's going to rob you of your drive and your ambition, it's going to rob you of all of the things that are needed in order for you to do what only you can do to change your own circumstances and the circumstances of your family. It's going to rob you of all those things. So irritation creates indignation. And sometimes when we allow that anger, that irritation, and that frustration to grow enough, we kind of put our foot on the ground and we say, you know, forget this. I give up. Or we say, you know what? I'm done. And we kind of, silently resign from our corporations, like silent resignation. And then how does that serve you in the end? Right? So keep in mind that if irritation creates indignation, be grounded in the principles that create confidence. Be grounded in all the principles, the powerful principles I shared earlier, because the fact is, money is math. In a world where a recession is likely, in a world where the economics are so uncertain, money is still math. The economy as it was defined before the crash is still the economy as it is defined after the crash. So understand this, the facts of the situation, and understand that money is math. And here's the thing about creating financial wealth. You desire to have job security. I say don't pursue job security because that's an unattainable goal. Pursue vocational confidence and focus on financial confidence, and do so by understanding two simple formulas of creating financial wealth. The first formula is create more value for more people. If you create more value to more people, money earned is a byproduct of value created. What is valuable to people before a recession and what's valuable to people after a recession is different. So start to listen and observe and to learn. Approach the situation, approach your circumstances with fascination instead of frustration. Approach your situation with curiosity instead of indignation. So then that's the first formula. The first formula, and I'll repeat it again, create more value for more people. The second formula of creating financial wealth is to create a higher level of value for fewer people. Fewer people. Because you won't need that many people to take you up on your offer if it is a higher level of value. But you got to figure out, how can I turn that something of value and find people who can access the value I've created and who can pay for the value that I've created. So if you will be curious and fascinated in creating more value than you have been, so that you can make your presence more valuable and solve more valuable problems that are with the times we're in, then you can achieve vocational confidence instead of waiting for someone else to come and give you opportunities or waiting for someone else to come to rescue you. You can be independent. You can have vocational confidence. Hi, this is Dr. Grace. I want to take a minute to share with you my Mastery Accelerator mentorship program. It's a mentorship where I take experts and executives to help them to achieve vocational confidence. If you'd like to learn more, click the link below this video. It'll take you to a page, read through it. If it makes sense to you and you'd like my help to help you to achieve your career goals, then book a call with a member of my team. And if we end up working together, then I look forward to supporting you on the inside.